guys, welcome to the discussion portion of the playthrough. Joining me is Zach, the global guru. We'll keep these. Dr. J, Jared. Thanks for doing the rules part. You know,
no problem.
It's always a hard
doing
part.
Rules.
KO King Russ, and of course Ktdata. So, guys, we're talking about Most Wanted. So, how did you guys feel about being in the Midwest in St. Louis, trying to be the baddest of the bads?
So to start with, I kind of was not too excited about this game, but it was a lot of fun to play. So I played it a bunch with my family, played it with you guys, and really enjoyed it.
Yeah, and Russ has gotten in more plays of this game than anyone here, probably about 3 times as many plays as anyone else here. So he has a better grasp of the game, you know, the strategy that develops as you play the game more and more and more than we do. We played it 3 times or something in a row, and it was fun when we played it, but Russ definitely has a little more experience with it than the rest of us.
And the funny part is when I was talking to Zach about it when we were at Origins, first of all, big thanks to North Star Games for sending us a review copy. This is not a sponsored video, so all our thoughts are our own, but they did send us this for us to review. But when we went to the press event, when we saw him, like, this was the game out of the 2 that we saw, we're like, I don't know if this is really is you know, something up our wheelhouse that we'd want to play.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we're big fans of North Star Games. We've loved a lot of their past games. So I came into it with pretty high expectations, and we looked at it and we're thinking, I don't know, is this going to be more party game that we don't enjoy, or is it going to be a little more strategic? And so we were kind of hesitant. But at least for me, I was pleasantly surprised. I thought it was a good mix of a party game and a strategy game.
I think it is a really good party game with strategy. So I think it plays best 5 to 8. It plays down to, I think, 2, it says on the box. But I think when you get over
the more
5,
the better,
it
I
adds
think.
A little bit more strategy to it. Allows you to play a little bit
I've played with 8, and it was super fun at Origins.
Yeah, and this is one of those games that when you first see it, like, I have a hard time explaining this game because you're like, well, it's sort of has poker.
It's hard to say It's hard to not say it's like poker, because it does have poker aspects to it, but it's not poker.
Yeah,
you know, it doesn't play like poker. You're not gambling or anything like that. I mean, kind of you're gambling with your positions on the board, but it doesn't have the same kind of stakes that poker has. It's more fun, more relaxed, and I think it can be a little deceptive if you look at it and say, well, I don't like poker. I'm not going to like this game. Don't go into it with that attitude for sure, because it's not really all that much like poker.
Yeah, and the fun part about this game is when we were actually doing the demo, and you remember this, Zach, that one of the guys playing the game, he was so into the game and so excited about it that he actually tipped his chair over and fell to the floor while playing the game. we
blew him away.
Yeah, it was that good of a game for him. He was so excited about it.
So one of their selling points, I remember, is that it's kind of like what King of Tokyo did with Yahtzee. This game is taking poker to that next level, turning it into a board game with characters and goals and different aspects. So if you like poker, you're probably going to like parts of this game. If you don't like poker because of maybe certain aspects, you still might like this game because it changes it up so much. And there's a lot of variability. You could change it up to play it the way you like it.
I really like that comparison between, you know, King of Tokyo, because this is that kind of game. This is the kind of game that it's for beginners or people you want to introduce to the gaming hobby. It has that sort of feel like if you want to get people into gaming, you have them play King of Tokyo. If you want to start gaming with your kids early, you play King of Tokyo with them. This is that kind of game. And for me personally, that's part of why I'm not drawn to it. If it's game night or something and someone says, let's play Most Wanted, I'll be down to play Most Wanted, but it's not going to be at the top of my list because I don't have kids. I don't play those kinds of games. I really like more in-depth strategy, epic type games. This doesn't really fit that niche, but you know, it's still a great game. It's still a great game to play with a lot of people, and that's why I feel like it's much more of a party game.
Yeah, I like to call it more of kind of like the beer drinking game, you know, so the game where you're playing the game sort of, but you're still chatting and, you know, having discussions.
So probably not
on.
for kids.
It's
they can't drink the beer with it. But it's made for 10 plus.
It,
and I can
it encourages social interaction more than it encourages like thought-provoking strategy or
although
whatever.
it can. The more
Yeah.
you play this game, the more you'll realize there's combos, there's strategy, and you can take it to another level.
So my family loves card games, so I was excited to try these. My extended family, we play a lot of Hanafoot and other card games, face card games. So they really caught onto this quick and enjoyed playing it. And I will say this, that Evolution is another North Star game, same co-creator. And Evolution is probably top 2 or 3 all-time games for me. You guys know that. And Evolution is really based on the environment and based on how other people play will dictate how that's played strategically. And this is kind of the same. I think you can take the approach like we did where, you know, you go to the train and you have the best 4-card hand, but I'm not going to go to the train until I have a 4-card hand. But the more I started playing it, I realized you could play a lot of bluffing and strategy. Like, I'm going to go to the train. I've made some money, so I'm okay to pay bail. And if no one's willing to play the train, then I'm going to benefit with the reward. So the more I got figuring that out, the strategy, it started to open up the game more because it felt like some of those stations were too powerful when we played with just the 4 of us. But if you add in like the bluffing and that part of the card game, I think it adds a little bit more and allows more strategy.
Yeah, one of the things that I really noticed about this game too is there's a lot of luck involved in this game. If you're the kind of person who likes to control everything, it's probably not the game for you. I think we played 4 games actually the first time, and every single one of us won
and
one
like
of the
it
games.
swung drastically. Like you would get all the cards one game, and then you wouldn't get anything.
And I noticed that's pretty consistent.
Yeah, I won
but you can notice that there were people picking up on strategies. Oh, if I go to church combined with getting some money first and then doing a train or some of the other scenarios, you'll start to see some of these really powerful. And if you kind of learn when to do certain things and time things at certain times, then you can kind of mitigate your luck a little bit.
Yeah.
And so it does take a little bit of skill if you want to win. The more you play with other people that have played.
Yeah, you can mitigate the luck, but there's a lot of luck there. Yeah. I mean, when the game I won, I was getting aces and 6s all over the place, and it was feeling really good.
That was just a blowout.
The games afterwards, it was like I'd get like a 7, a 9, and a jack, and I'm like, none of these, they're not even the same suit. I have no idea what to do with this.
Fun. It was fun to leave you at the back after you just beat it.
Right, yeah, and this is kind of what it feels like. It's very swingy. Like some games you do really well, some you don't. But it's really fun, and we played with like we like to play with Melodice, which is the little ambiance music for board games, and it really fits when you put some saloon music or something to it, and you got that old timey ragtime tune while you're playing.
Well, and then in one of our games, if I remember right, and this happened when I was playing with my family too, Zach got way ahead, and then we were able to
everybody kind of targets him to duel, and you break it down.
My sister-in-law got almost. She was to the highest level to the 3s, and she ended up in last place once.
But it's nice. Like, let's say something like that happens. It's easy to not be too bitter because it was like a 5-10 minute game, and it's like, hey, we'll play again, and this time you'll be the one getting crushed.
Yeah.
How do you guys like that kind of self timer that is actually built in the game, where once you run out of cards in the deck, you actually flip over one of the heist jobs, and it has more points on the other side?
Yeah, that's one of the things that I wanted to talk about, because if somebody gets ahead early, don't feel like you can't catch up. So, and I didn't talk about this in the rule segment because I forgot, but like the train, it's your best 4 cards. You get 4 points if you win. Well, once the deck runs out and you have to reshuffle it, it turns over, and now anyone who wins the train gets 5 points instead of 4. So it speeds up the game so that if it's going on, if it feels like it's starting to drag, the game's going to end faster. But it also gives you an opportunity to catch up by getting more points for winning these. What do they call them? Heists? Is that what they're called?
Yeah, so I think those are robbery jobs, and these are other activities.
Oh.
But I don't think any of our games went longer than, I think it says, 15 to 35 minutes? I don't know if we had any 35-minute games.
No.
I don't really see it
like
going
2
farther
or
than that.
3 of the games combined made up 35 minutes. It's not a long game.
We did with bigger groups. But
that's true.
So
really
makes sense. Maybe that's time coming in
to,
for size.
It really came down to when people finally figured out church and honest labor were part of the game. It seems like when you first play it, you're wondering why you'd go to church or why you'd worry about honest labor.
Yeah, yeah,
Once you figure those out, so church, you get a discard and up to set, and then you get 7 cards.
Yeah.
back.
So say you have 5 cards normally. So say you discard 3 of them, so you're going to get 3 cards back plus an additional 4 or two more to get up to 7. So you're going to get 5 cards back total. The drawback with that is you can't refill your cards back up to 7. So if you have 6 left over on that turn, you're not getting any cards back until you use down below 5.
Yeah.
I will say that the first game with just the 6 stations is a fun learning game, but I don't really want to go back to that if the people have known.
Once
Very,
you kind of
very
figure it-
simplistic.
There's 2 fun stations that are added, casino and
The general store.
that are added in the second territory. Those bring in money a lot more.
Are
One
those-
allows you to use money to buy cards. One allows you to pay money to go to a casino and try to get straights.
And the strategies change between when you mix these up. It like hugely impacts the game.
That's another thing I like about this game is it's not just these 6 actions that we can do. They actually have a box that are included with the other ones. And the travel guide, which you guys know how much I love theme in any of my games. I love this travel guide because it's leading you across the West to different areas. And like, well, when you're near Las Vegas, of course, we got to put a casino in. So you take out one of these cards and then you put the casino in place of it. And you play with that.
Yeah, I haven't played with all of them. There's some that I'm excited to try. Shantytown, which is
You want to have the worst hand, yeah.
But I love the theme, and there is strategy there. And like I said, when you play the second game on, the money becomes a bigger deal. So you can kind of have a strategy to save money. I like to go to honest labor. Then next turn go to, the general store. Then use that money to get a straight, and then use that to.
So we didn't
play
really
the
go over
casino.
it, but like you've been talking about the honest labor, and what that is basically you go there and you get these tokens here, these money tokens that you can spend at the general store or at the casino, and you can also use them so you don't end up losing spaces on the track.
You pay that for your bail.
And that's one of the things that I struggled with during our play, and maybe I'd just get better at it over time, is when those stations came out, when the general store came out and the casino came out, I never had the money to go and to participate in those because, like, if someone goes to the casino, you have to pay in order to play there instead of like these other places where you just say you want in. And so I'd never have the money. Going to honest labor never made sense because I didn't have cards of the same suit to cash in and get more money. And so that really hurt me in the games where those came out.
See, I think honest labor is a big part because then you can pay casino or general store or just to pay your bail, so I can be riskier.
It allows you to take a lot of risks.
Yeah.
And so especially you need to have that money when you're getting up towards the top
Yeah,
and
'cause
people are
it's like
targeting
three
you.
coin,
If you have
that's a lot.
Yeah, if you have money and you lose, you're able to pay them off, and still once it gets to your turn, you set up for that awesome hand and win.
And that's where I think you start to figure out some strategies the more you play it.
Yeah.
My daughter loved to go to church a lot to the point it was almost every turn, but then she was willing to play any station that people went to. So her strategy almost seemed to not worry about getting points on her turn, but getting points on everybody
Trying to
else's
piggyback
turn.
off of other people's
Because
decisions.
then she's just getting better cards. We'd make jokes about her going to church all the time. And, so it's kind of a different strategy. But if people are going to be going and you have 7 cards, they have 5, it makes a big difference.
Yeah. Was she playing Betty too?
No.
something.
So Betty's the girl that's actually on the box.
That's Betty.
Oh,
right
yeah,
here.
no, she was Betty because she's a redhead, so she wanted to be Betty.
So what do you guys think of the art?
I don't like it.
I'm
not a fan of the art.
Bane.
Yeah.
So when I play the game, it feels like Bane, even though the game's nothing like Bane.
It's interesting because a lot of the card art is different than the character art. And
I kind of like the card
and
art.
I think they explained it to us that the character art, they specifically made it look more alive and more organic and popping out of the card.
a little more
So
cartoonish.
you're a little more focused on those characters than some of the like.
Whereas in
places
this
you go.
art is still a little cartoonish, but it's
More
it's got a
like-
really cool kind of Western theme
Yeah.
to it.
I like
that-
the character.
I
art, not
think
so
I
much
think the
card
art's
art.
kind of cool.
I don't like the character. They got kind of like jagged edges and corners and stuff, and I'm not a fan of the cartoony look but that's just me. I don't particularly like cartoony stuff in my games.
I think it matches the game, though. I don't know if you'd have more realistic.
Well, you can tell
does.
you can tell that this is a mix between a designer that made Happy Salmon and a designer that made Evolution. Right. This is the Happy Salmon part.
Yeah. I really like
this is the
I really
Evolution
like the
part.
playing cards, even though they're just playing cards. They're weathered. I don't know if it.
They have they have the linen linen feel to it,
and it's got cool art like with the sixes and the pistols. Yeah.
See, and that's something I wanted to talk about too. Was that rule about the sixes?
Yeah, how do you feel about
that?
that?
Huge difference with the game, and I don't know how I like it. I mean, I think it's important because otherwise you can just hoard aces until you get a good winning hand, and then you'd always win. So I think it's important to have some way to trump that hand so that there's
it's
always so fun.
A hand can
when
always
someone
be
does that,
beat.
you're like, oh, you feel really good if you pull it off.
But at the same
it's
time,
hard to pull it off
It's really
too.
bad though when you play like tens or jacks and you think you've got a one or kings, and somebody plays aces and then somebody else plays sixes because it wipes out yours anyway.
Yes. It's best in like duels or if there's only two people.
But
it's hard because some of these anyone can join, so you don't know if you want to risk it and put it down.
There were several times that we were playing and someone would go to the Pony Express and I'd have a hand with 2 aces and 2 sixes and sit there
and you
I'd
have to
be
make the decision. I
have no idea what to, and I would sit there and I got analysis paralysis. I sat there and was thinking, which do I play? And in the end I was like, it doesn't matter. Like it's a crapshoot either way. I don't know if I'm going to win. Like I can't think this through, just throw some down, and almost every time I guessed wrong. So if I played the aces, someone else had the sixes. If I played the sixes, someone else had the aces, and it just drove me crazy.
I'm glad that the T-shirt run of Dr. J is always wrong that we're going to be making still applies. So
I think you got to be
let's not carry that
aggressive
over.
and play and not worry too much about losing. I think that's the one thing that we kind of ran into a little bit, but that's based on games with other experiences that we have in games, right?
We can be a competitive group sometimes too.
So
it's hard
this
to,
doesn't seem like a competitive game.
It's
like,
not.
This is one of those games you enjoy the experience more than you enjoy the win.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times it's super close or you lose at the last minute, but it's just a fun experience because there's a lot of individual wins that you can get per each turn.
We were very hesitant to join hands when we played, as far as like, I'm not going to win Stagecoach, so I'm not going to go.
yeah.
That's actually another way to strategy-wise is to, if you have the money or if you're low on the
So like if you
poll,
start out, you're at zero, so it doesn't cost you anything.
You take as much risk as you can.
If you're down here, like in the ones area, you don't really have that much to lose. So like when we were playing with the bank, which is all 5 cards, there were times where I would join in, lose 1 spot because I was going to lose, but dump my entire hand and get something new.
And I think that's where it's good to use a bluffing almost.
Yeah.
And that's why, even though it takes time to understand, getting money allows a lot more freedom. It allows you to lose. It allows you to bluff. It allows you to buy cards from the general store if that's in play. So you don't have to, but I really think once you figure out church and honest labor, it makes the game a lot more fun, and it allows you to be more free. Like, I'm going to lose, but I have this $2 here.
Shift through.
And like I said, trying to gain points on other players' turns, I think it is a lot better strategy than we played. We were trying to worry about that. Like I said, my daughter was going to church every turn, and she always had more cards and made a much bigger deal.
So with a 4-player game, one of the things I really liked was there's no real downtime. So when other people are taking their turns, you can participate. What was it like with 8 people or with 8 people, high player counts? Is there more downtime?
Yeah, there's definitely a lot more downtime, but to a point, you still need to pay attention to know what other people are doing. You may not have as much impact, but we also kind of had a couple side conversations if he's going
social
slower.
aspect of this game that I really like.
Yeah, so you need to pay attention to a point, but you could still kind of have a side conversation.
I think downtime, but at the same point, when you play with 4 or less, I tend to think you're really worried about winning hands. You're not as willing to go in. So hands are like 1 or 2 players. It's almost like a duel most of the time. When you're 5 to 8 players, it seems like the hands are 3 to 4 players playing that hand of poker.
So
you're
sixes
going to win. You're going to win with
really
2 of a
do
kind
a lot in those,
or 2 pair, as opposed to if there's just 4 of us and good chance someone's going to have 4 of a kind. So if I don't have 4 of a kind, I don't want to enter in the train.
Unless you're just
Right.
dumping your cards or something.
All right, so let's kind of sum this all up, going down the row on what your guys' overall impression of the game is. So Zach,
I think it's great. It's a nice, fun, quick game. If you like poker, you're gonna like it. If you don't like poker, I think they change it up enough that you still might really like it as well.
I'm not a huge fan of the game, but that's just my taste. I'm not a big fan of short, quick games. I like longer, thinker, Ameritrashy games where we're punching each other in the face. But for a quick game, it's fun. I like that it's low stress. You don't have to really worry about winning all the time. And, you know, if you're not doing well, the next hand is going to be around in just a few minutes. So it's fun that way.
This game fits a good niche on my shelf. I'm pretty excited about 5 to 8 party style game that's lightweight. It's not quite as heavy as maybe a Seven Wonders, but it hits that large group number, which, as you guys know, it's hard sometimes to find a good game with 8+ people that's lightweight.
Yeah, that's true.
yep. You guys know I love the theme about this, and I just feel like this is one of those games now that I've put on my shelf as intro to gamer games. You know, one of those games you can play. Hey, it's sort of like poker, and I know you like poker, so come here and get a little bit of it so you can get addicted and play some of the harder games I have. So for me, I recommend it as kind of that gateway game. So guys, thank you so much for talking to us about Most Wanted, and I enjoyed playing it with you. So that, that's always a good sign of a game, right?
Yeah.
I didn't want to punch anybody. So, and thank you guys for watching us talk about Most Wanted. If you have any questions or anything, shoot us an email or leave it in the comments below. All that information will be listed on our website at ktdata.net. So thank you guys so much, and we'll see you next time on the PlayThru